So we've got a session now on academic perspectives. I said earlier that, Supergen's about academic policy industry. We heard some wonderful industry perspectives this morning. We'll have some policy ones later this afternoon that will connect with some of what we've already heard actually from others. But this one is about academic perspectives. So we've got three perspectives that we're going to give you here. Gerard, who is the Bioenergy Portfolio Manager at EPSRC, is going to speak on behalf of UKRI or EPSRC? Chrysanthi. Both. Chrysanthi from BBSRC, Gerard from EPSRC are going to speak about UKRI's perspective. We actually yesterday had a really good session with our early career researchers where we asked them to identify what they think the research challenges are and what they think of Supergen and what it could be doing differently for them and how it could move forward. So we are going to very briefly have some feedback from that session from the two chairs of our Supergen Share Network, that's Sarah and Naveed. And if we've got time at the end of that, I will pick up anything that remains from a Supergen perspective, I suppose. So that's our funders' perspective, our early career perspective, and then the boring bit at the end. Okay, so over to you, Gerard.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks very much for the opportunity to speak to you all today. Just going to give a very brief overview and talk about the strategy and why that bioenergy is important to our ambitions in terms of net zero, and also about the opportunities within the councils. Before cracking on with the slides, it's just been really interesting and great to see that how interdisciplinary this has been so far. It's great to see that the economic and social science has been integrated into what you're doing. It's a fantastic network, I think. I've really enjoyed meeting and talking to a lot of people over the last couple of days. And to get that kind of policy and industry and academic perspective woven in together, I think has been really interesting, and I think has worked very well. So, I enjoyed yesterday the early career input there, and I've enjoyed today as well. I think it's been really interesting, and learned an awful lot, including that I can drink polyvinyl alcohol, which I didn't know. So, for those people who may not know, so UK Research and Innovation is an arm's length body from government. So we get our money from BEIS, and we work with them, obviously, but they don't tell us how to spend all of our money. We have autonomy in terms of that. And within that sit the research councils, including Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council and the Biosciences and Biotechnology Research Council, along with a number of others, and Innovate. And obviously there's been a lot of change recently, but I'm still happy that we had our settlement earlier this year, and that's as you can see on the board, that's how it's sort of broken down. But one of the things bottom right is just to flag that there are a number of new cross-council UKRI strategic programmes, and within that will sit some work for net zero and things which sit well with our strategies. So there's been quite a lot of strategies that have come out of UKRI, and not least of which a couple last week from, or a number last week from the individual research councils, really focusing on their delivery plan and looking at what we deliver. They are high level, and I'd recommend them cautiously, as it were. They are very important documents, but and they will give an indication as to the high level, direction that we want to take, and they'll give some highlights in terms of delivery, things that we want to deliver, but it won't name everything within that. A lot of it is about net zero, and building a green future is a phrase that comes up quite a lot, And certainly within engineering and physical sciences, we've sort of focused on that as engineering net zero. It doesn't all have to be engineering. So I'm not going to run through this, but I'd commend those documents to you. I would say that takeaway message is that net zero, obviously, and getting there is crucial, and that we see that bioenergy is a really important part of getting there. A few things about bioenergy within UKRI. I mean, I've said already that I can see that interdisciplinary is woven into pretty much everything that you're doing, and we very much encourage that, obviously. And there's a lot of linkages, which I can see by government people in the room, and there's a lot of policy perspectives there. That those are obviously really important, and we're really pleased that those links are made, and we think those are extremely valuable. Obviously, I'm saying bioenergy is crucial in terms of getting there. It has a huge role to play in terms of job creation, economic growth, and enhancing energy security. So those are a number of things as to why it's so important. We've got to move away, obviously, from fossil fuels, and it's looking also at the widest range of impacts that we can have, and all the different positive things that can come from it. And Patricia mentioned quite a lot about skills yesterday in her talk, and obviously we need to work on the skills aspect, and there are kind of plans afoot in terms of addressing that in terms of CDTs going forward. So is this you? This is you. Yes. Okay. I shall hand over to Chrysanthi.
Well, thank you, Gerard. The bioenergy portfolio at UKRI is, we're pretty much agnostic as to which feedstocks you are going to use and into which energy vectors you are going to turn them in. But the main difference between our two councils comes to the processes that you're going to use. So EPSRC is more about funding the thermochemical processes, and we at BBSRC are more about the biochemical conversion of biomass into energy vectors. So more specifically, at BBSRC, our focus is around building a greener future, advancing the bioeconomy, and delivering a greenhouse gas savings. We very much like to support the development and refinement of bio-based processes, and to consider life cycle emissions and circularity. We do not support thermochemical processes. Those are supported by EPSRC, and we prefer to support projects looking into advanced second generation and beyond biofuels. However, the biomass combustion and combustion technologies, they can get funding from EPSRC. And EPSRC focus is more on energy conversion and sustainability, and they very much like to support the development and refinement of thermochemical systems for pretreatment, conversion, upgrading upgrading feedstocks and such. However, they prefer to not fund biochemical processes and process engineering for bio-based systems, bioelectrical engineering, and the utilization of biomass solely for the production of chemicals. But all these are areas that they can be funded by BBSRC. None of our councils is really able to fund projects that they are in technology readiness level above 4, but those projects, they can be funded by Innovate UK, which, as Gerard explained, is again part of UKRI. So hopefully, that was a very high-level overview of the research that we can support. And you can always contact us. EPSRC has a very handy form that you get to fill. We are a bit more, I suppose, old-fashioned. Just send us an email with a couple of sentences of your project, and we'll be happy to let you know if it's within a remit or if another council is better equipped to support your research. And before mentioning the additional funding opportunities that exist for you to fund your research, we are very happy to let you know that we are looking to extend this round of the Supergen Bioenergy Hub for a year till October next year. But more than that, after that, we're looking also on to the next phase of the Supergen program, and we are very much hoping that the Bioenergy Hub would be part of the next generation of Supergens. Right. So yeah, we do have like a number of funding opportunities for you to follow on, and you can find all of them in this new page that we have. It's we call it the Funding Finder. So it's this link there at the top, but you can also just Google UKRI Funding Finder, and then there you can see all the different types of funding mechanisms that they are open at the moment, and the upcoming ones, I think. So there are fellowships, obviously, for different career stages, and there are partnership awards for you to partner up with industrial partners or researchers from other places of the world outside of the UK. And last but not least, we do have our standard research grants. And, well, those are always open. You can always, at any time, send your proposal. I think at EPSRC, they get to evaluate it as soon as you send them. Us at BBSRC, we do evaluations 3 times per year. But yeah, those awards are always open, and at least us at BBSRC, a huge chunk of our funding goes to these responsive mode grants, as we call them. And I would love to see more bioenergy proposals coming in, because I kind of feel that this is an untapped resource for this community. And, well, other ways for you to get involved with us is through our review. You can choose to become a peer reviewer or to sit on one of our panels. And, well, we also have advisory bodies where I think some of you have sat in advisory bodies in BBSRC and EPSRC, and it would be nice if you can tell other people if that was useful at all. I think, I mean, obviously it is a time commitment, but it does give you the opportunity to get involved, shaping our future strategies and, well, our future strategic funding opportunities. So yeah, I would encourage you to get involved with that. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm going to move to Sarah and Naveed. Are you going together, or which one of you come first? But can I just say, one that is particularly pertinent in what you showed there was the Brazil Pump Priming Fund. Yeah. So if we could, yeah, I'll be clicking on that in an hour or so.
It's the Sao Paulo collaboration, not Brazil.
Ah, is that right? It is, yeah. That's unfortunate. Yeah.
I think it's speaking on the end. Okay.
I'm not in the committee officially.
All right. I'm shared chair, which is ECR's network for Supergen Bioenergy Hub, and I'm responsible for our membership. And since for the last 2.5 years, we have excellent response from our ECRs, and all credit goes to our core management group. especially one dedicated member, Katie, because she supported us a lot to improve and to help us in getting approval from CMG for all activities for skills development for ECRs. And we have organized several events, including lecture series, which was monthly lecture series. There was a newsletter for our ECRs as sharing information about what the opportunities available for them. And also it was a really good opportunity for them to have some sort of power trader workshop. There was post-COP MOP and Aberystwyth event as well, where all the ECRs were gathered in Aberystwyth to celebrate and for networking as well. So we really like to thanks to all of our ECRs who were very dedicated and who participated in all of our events, as well as the people who supported in overall process. And now I will hand over to you guys. You actually want to say?
Is it just about what we discussed yesterday?
Right. So yeah, there was some sort of things which there was an opportunity for all of us to share our views about what we want to see for Supergen for the future, coming months and years. There was a lot of opportunities, and we actually want to expand our network, ECRs network, especially to have more ECRs from industry, because there are a lot of ECRs who are being hired in industry. There are a lot of ECRs in policy and government positions. So we really want to have on board those people to expand our network and have really good type of sharing. And especially it's a good opportunity it was a good opportunity to have secondment to go to the industry, and we really want to have some people to come to our Supergen ECRs network to have some sort of collaborative and joint sharing of research. Yeah. Anything to add?
Right, okay. I thought there was more of us coming to the floor. So I'd just like to say just a very... Okay. Hello, everybody. I'd just like to say thank you, actually, for Patricia and for Supergen to allowing Share to evolve and giving an opportunity for us who are possibly transitioning from new areas of working, also evolving from our PhDs and postdocs, to have a safe space to evolve and to be ourselves, but also I think it's safe to embrace challenges. And I think I hope very much that Supergen is successful to get to renewal, because I'm feeling a bit scared. Oh no, I won't have Share as a safety net, and I hope so hopefully we'll continue and evolve. We did have an opportunity yesterday to put our ideas into a new format, and I think it was in our little group we did have to ask Katie, please can you explain vector, that section for us, because and I think one thing outcome from our discussions, I think maybe not change the potential structure, but evolve it, and maybe that's one section that possibly needs to have a rethink of its identity, so we can feel an awareness how to connect with it. And I think from this morning in discussions, Patricia thinks that I actually could possibly fit in there, which is like, great, can I have an influence on the new name of it? Because I remember in one of my post-it notes yesterday, I think I did think about evolving into energy and byproducts and trying kind of an interconnection there. So maybe there is a bit more of an identity that we need to evolve, hopefully have the opportunity to evolve. Also, I think there was a discussion about more two-way communication between various like the resources and the conversion, because I feel like I'm partly in the border. I feel I would like to have more discussions with Sarah and Scott, not about Supergen event, but actually about the work we're actually doing. But I also have found that even though we work in the same organisation, being involved in the Supergen discussions, I've actually had the opportunity to be in a workshop with Anita, and it's given me an opportunity to reflect from a different perspective on the work I actually am involved in. And I'm actually involved in a project that's at an European level, a very broad and diverse interreg, And I have found the coming to work on a UK level, that this network is a safe space to look objectively and gain value from that experience I'm gaining. So I hope it's very important that we have this opportunity to evolve. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you for that. It's really important that we run SHARE. SHARE is the future of bioenergy research and, in fact, of research in this country, and not just in this country, because we have seen people come through SHARE and go elsewhere and go overseas and do wonderful things. And I love, actually, when we have people coming back to these meetings, and there are a few of them, actually, this week, who have originally been researchers in Supergen and have now gone on and fledged their wings elsewhere. So it's fabulous. I think it's my favourite bit of the whole of Supergen. But there are lots of other things I like about Supergen. And as I'm now incredibly short on time, I'm just going to make a few comments about what I think is particularly valuable about what Supergen does. And I think the problem is that Gerard stole it all, because it's all about the interdisciplinarity. And I think that is absolutely key. That is the richness of what we have here. And actually this morning, at some points, I was thinking, this is actually feeling a little bit siloed, because there was lots of stuff, but it wasn't quite coming together, in a single presentation. But it comes together in the coffee breaks. It comes together in the lunch times and in the conversations that we have after this, where you learn something that informs that. So interdisciplinarity is the single most important thing, I think, about what we have here and how we add value that you cannot in responsive mode and you cannot with the other material that UKRI has. I think the second thing is what we've just heard. It's the skills development of the next generation. And I think that the environment we have here for that is absolutely unique. I don't think there are any other researchers in the UK who are being trained like this around the industrial exposure, the policy exposure, and the real life skills that they will need with your power trader game that you were doing and all the rest of it, and the communications. I just don't think it's happening in the same way that it does here. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on particularly, one thing that we tried this time round that I think has been really valuable, but I also have reservations about, and that's the secondments that we've done. I think the people who have gone on secondment have benefited from it hugely. What I have a reservation about is whether for the community as a whole, it's a cost-effective way to spend UKRI's money. And I don't know how we reconcile that, because I know for the individuals it has been hugely beneficial. It has also resulted in institutional links that wouldn't otherwise have happened. So I actually really love it. I think it's a really good thing to do. But I just think that we need to think about the cost effectiveness of that and, how useful that actually is. The final thing that I wanted to say is a little bit about conversation I had actually with UKRI last night, which is in the last 4 years since we took on Supergen for the last iteration, the world has changed a lot and bioenergy has changed a lot. And I think there's two things that I see happening that I think it's important we think about as we move forward with Supergen. One is that, as I mentioned earlier, witnessed by The Guardian this morning, bioenergy remains and arguably has become even more contested than it was 4 years ago. That, for me, is the biggest argument for why we need Supergen, why we need an independent academic voice in this space. Because otherwise, if we only have commercial developers and we only have politicians making decisions, I think that we're really in a very, very dangerous space. We need this to be informed by independent, credible scientific evidence. We need the scientists and engineers to be continuing to engage with what's happening, to see the real impacts and calibrate and validate. And that's what we can do here in a way that we can't in other mechanisms. So I think that is incredibly important. And the second thing is industry integration. So there has been huge investment by BEIS in particular in the NZIP and other programmes in the last year or so. And it's been really rewarding to see a whole range of Supergen institutes. I think there were about a dozen in total who've been funded via various programmes like the Hydrogen BECCS programme and others. And it's academic institutes working on industrially led projects that I find really exciting, where you have the likes of Q Technologies, who were here this morning, having funding from government departments. That also involves academic input. They recognise that they need that and they benefit from it. And for many of those, the foundations for those collaborations have been laid down in a Supergen context. So I think that as we're doing this now, what we're seeing is a big investment by government in new technologies for net zero. We have to be incredibly careful. Time is not on our side, and we have to make this work. And this is why I think at the moment, the really, really important piece is keeping the academics connected to the deployment in industry and actually having that support available on a flexible basis if and when it's needed by those who are actually trying to do the really hard stuff, as Chris described this morning, and going out and building these. But there's other ways it's needed. It's needed in order to be able to reassure investors and to provide advice. I think I had an email this morning with someone asking for a review of a particular proposal that had come in for investment. That sort of thing is happening all the time. And academics, that's most of you, are the trusted voices in this. So I think it is important that we maintain that capacity and maintain that independence. And that, for me, is the biggest argument for why we need Supergen moving forward. I think it's true, as Gerard and Chrysanthi have said, that we will have something running for the next year. It's not going to be what we have now, I'm afraid, because the amount of funding that is available is not what we have had. I hope that will change in the following year. But for the next 12 months, this is going to be incredibly tight. So we will have to have a core management group discussion, and we will have to look at how we can make best use of what is available. But I think if anybody has any comments or suggestions, if you talk to, we have a number of, I'm trying to remember the term we use, we have a number of representatives in different universities. And if you can talk to anyone, if you have any suggestions on how we can get through the coming year with all its resources challenges, that would be really helpful. Things you think we can do smarter, things you can think we can do in a different way. But, you know, it's a challenge. Challenges come, and we have to deal with them. Everyone has challenging times at the moment. So we will look to that moving forward. It may slightly delay communications that we give you about what happens after today. Normally, I would be able to tell you when we will all meet again and do various things, which we won't be able to do, but we will be in touch. And I have talked for way too long, so let's move on.